After years of waiting for the highly anticipated sequel to Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, it's finally arrived, and Zelda fans are going nuts over this game, and for good reason. Tears of the Kingdom has a variety of exciting new gameplay mechanics that keep your brain occupied for hours. The innovative fuse and alter hand mechanics allow for the combination of weapons to create unique and powerful effects, while the building mechanic provides players with a wide variety of ways to traverse the vast world of Hyrule, which also allows for new types of puzzles to be solved across this new version of Hyrule, which has undergone significant changes since the last game. There are gaping chasms, pieces of the ancient Zonai civilization scattered all over Hyrule. Some are still falling. There's new towns, new enemies, new shrines, and new objectives, obviously. The world has more than doubled in size due to the addition of the islands in the sky and the vast underground area, creating an even bigger wow factor to that explore and discover experience that most Zelda games nailed and one-upped each other over and over again, including Breath of the Wild. It's clear that the developers put a lot of effort into making this game. Truly remarkable. It took 6 years, so I would hope so. Tears of the Kingdom is a truly magnificent feat, and a beautiful and wondrous game. Better than I could have expected or asked of the Zelda series. So, why do I get the feeling something's wrong? Let me give you some context. The Legend of Zelda is truly special to me, as I know it is to many people on many different levels. Zelda was the first thing that I ever got lost in and thought was fascinating. Even before I was able to read, I remember asking my mom what the man in the cave was saying with such curiosity and fascination. It really excited my heart. When I was finally able to read and comprehend a story, I fell in love with A Link to the Past. Back then it felt so big, and the world felt so real and lived in compared to the last Zelda and other games I played like Super Mario and Donkey Kong Country. The adventure completely transcended me into its world, and it was my first outlet for escapism from this reality, which is a feeling I would come to be familiar with later in life. And as I grew, the games did with me, and my life eventually took a truly dark turn, with periods of depression and loneliness that led me to turn to certain extracurricular activities. Though for a while, it filled the void. Addiction soon took over my life and left me trapped in a real-life dark world for over 10 years. I should be dead. I wanted to be dead. Zelda was the one thing that kept me connected to the real world. Even when I was at my lowest, I would play or watch Zelda cutscenes, trying to piece together the timeline or dive into one of the many mysteries and the escapism it offered. The little peace of mind I got from The Legend of Zelda kept me alive. I would often think about taking the easy way out, and as I pondered in the cold or grimy hotel or the hospital, I would play when I had a way, which was mostly never, or watch the cutscenes and get lost in the world for one more night, which would distract myself from that terrible thought. Zelda was a light in the darkness for me that taught me life lessons and helped me survive until I could find my way out. The Legend of Zelda and its stories, especially the classics, hold a special place in my heart. However, Tears of the Kingdom signals that the era of classic Zelda is coming to a close. Now, I know not everyone has played through the story yet, which has something I want to address that I feel is very connected to this. I'll save it to the end of the video and give a spoiler warning before I reach that. But until then, let's speculate why Nintendo may or may not have shut the door on the old style of Zelda forever. The Legend of Zelda started out as an 8-bit open world of wonders, pixelated odyssey that ignited the imagination and defined the very essence of the adventure genre. It was one of the first of its kind, something Zelda would be known for throughout its history. And as the Zelda series grew and evolved through the tapestry of time, with each new entry it sought to discover its definitive voice, until finally the foundation of the Zelda formula was established. With every installment, it wove intricate threads of innovation, expanding the boundaries of its narrative and gameplay. Each chapter added new layers, forging a path towards creative identity as the series endeavored to find its own distinct essence, which it did. Through this process, the Zelda formula took shape. It embraced a balance between linear progression and imaginative exploration, crafting a foundation that became the cornerstone of the franchise. This structured framework allowed players to embark on heroic quests, countering mysteries and puzzles, navigating carefully crafted dungeons, and unraveling a captivating narrative. Ironically, Breath of the Wild would break the mold by capturing the spirit of the original Legend of Zelda, a tapestry of simplicity and charm that birthed the legend that would echo across generations, until it birthed Breath of the Wild, which would cast aside the shackles of linearity and embrace an open world brimming with untold possibilities, offering a stark contrast to the carefully orchestrated symphonies of its immediate predecessors. This breaking of the mold seemed to reach beyond the Zelda fandom and to attract many new fans. The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild sits comfortably as the best-selling Zelda game of all time, breaking Twilight Princess' previously held record by over 20 million at the time of this recording. This achievement not only solidified Breath of the Wild's place in gaming history, but also showcased the immense appetite for the open-world style that it embraced so brilliantly. Building upon the resounding success of Breath of the Wild and recognizing the insatiable appetite for the open-world exploration, Tears of the Kingdom gracefully steps into the spotlight, seamlessly continuing the legacy of its predecessor. And like its predecessor, Tears of the Kingdom beckons to a wider audience, drawing newcomers into its captivating embrace while inviting loyal Zelda fans to embark on another epic journey. As Zelda fans traverse the vast landscapes of Hyrule, above and below, unraveling secrets and forging their own path, all while pushing the boundaries of what a Zelda adventure can be. So, what's next? As Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom seem to usher in a new era of Zelda, it's worth noting that it's been quite some time since Nintendo ventured into the realm of 2D Zelda games or followed the traditional linear formula that characterized the series for so many years. Since 2015, when Triforce Heroes was released, which was also a multiplayer side Zelda story, which to me doesn't quite give me the fully fledged Zelda adventure fix. Since then, the Zelda franchise has predominantly focused on expansive open-world experiences and remakes of the beloved classics. And don't get me wrong, I love an HD remake or a stylized makeover reigniting timeless classics like, Link's Awakening. But as of late, it seems Nintendo seems less and less interested in revisiting the old Zelda formula, or the charming 2D adventures which served as the foundational origins of the franchise. And I'm not sure why. Besides some of the obvious reasons we might assume. Nintendo wants to keep things new and fresh. Nintendo wants to appeal to more gamers and optimize sales. Or Nintendo likes to be creative and create groundbreaking physics engines and play with the latest technology. And maybe Nintendo is just bored. They've been creating Zelda games for over 30 years, and most of those games follow the tried and true Zelda formula, even though Nintendo always seemed to infuse their titles with a distinctive thematic essence and introduced innovative gameplay elements that set each title apart. That very ambition and creativity that made the games that followed the Zelda formula distinct, unique, and stand out among each other may be the very wellspring that drives Nintendo to venture into uncharted territories and depart from the Zelda series' familiar conventions. So, does the success and wide reach of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom spell certain doom for the traditional Zelda games? Are we never going to experience a new top-down 2D adventure or have another 3D title which follows a linear story with key items and tons of dungeons? Now, I'm not saying I dislike Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom. On the contrary, these extraordinary games represent a groundbreaking leap in creative innovation, and they're just great fun. I just think it would be tragic if Nintendo shut the door on traditional Zelda forever. In my opinion, I think the benefits of continuing to make traditional Zelda games outweigh any reasons to deviate from the established Zelda formula, at least in all future installments. And I have a few good reasons why. The Legend of Zelda has been around since the 80s. It has touched a wide variety of players' imaginations across different generations. And one of the beautiful things about Zelda is it could attract anyone. Younger audiences, hardcore gamers, old-school Zelda fans, and the casual gamer. The layout and design of these games, while rich and immersive, often strike a balance that avoids overwhelming players with a sense of intimidation. while Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom isn't quite the same story. Give the controller to a small child or an old-timer who hasn't bought a new system since the N64, and they might struggle a bit. For a lot of us, the complex puzzle solving, swift combat maneuvers, and intricate mechanics have become second nature. Yet, when faced with the untamed wilderness of an open-world modern Zelda game, these newcomers or unseasoned players may find the modern Zelda style difficult, flailing their controllers, buttons mashed haphazardly, and their hearts diminishing faster than they can say game over. So, the charm and simplicity of a top-down 2D Zelda adventure, or even a 3D title like Ocarina of Time, embodies an inherent accessibility that harkens back to the beloved essence of the classic Zelda formula. It strikes a delicate balance, providing a gradual learning curve that eases players into the fantastical world of Link and his adventures. It's a testament to Nintendo's design prowess that even those unfamiliar with modern gaming can find joy in the timeless charm and whimsy of a classic Zelda title. In the world of 2D Zelda, the path forward is clear, and the game mechanics are easy to grasp, allowing players to dive in and start their journey with minimal hesitation. The simplicity of these games becomes a welcoming embrace, encouraging players to unleash their creativity and immerse themselves fully in the vibrant landscapes and captivating quests that await. It's also familiar, after so many entries in the series that shared mechanics and appearances. The aesthetics of some of the classic 3D titles fully embrace the same inviting feeling, even though the gameplay evolved transitioning into the realm of three-dimensional spaces, like the Wind Waker's charming cel-shaded aesthetics and other Zelda titles that follow that similar style, create a whimsical atmosphere that embraces a more playful and fun experience. This artistic choice brings the world of Hyrule to life in a way that feels approachable and less intimidating. And I'm aware that Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom share elements of that visual approach, but the enormous world, complex and intricate mechanics, along with the vastness of the open world format and the array of different options it offers, somewhat diminishes the effects of its impact. And the linear framework that Zelda used time and time again was shared by both versions of Zelda, top-down 2D Zelda and 3D Zelda. With their more linear progression, these games hold a promise that somewhere along the way, there lies something you seek, a treasure, a revelation, or a heartwarming moment. It's like being handed a map that guarantees the discovery of hidden wonders, providing a sense of direction and purpose amidst the vastness of the virtual realm. The controlled pacing further ensures that each step you take is accompanied by a masterfully orchestrated flow of information, like an author revealing the plot piece by piece, keeping you engaged and eager for the next chapter. Also, though most games that share the classic Zelda format are linear in nature, some games, more than others, strike a good balance to still give you that discovery and exploration feel-good sensation that Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom thrives on. But having specific destinations and a set path, as well as the more simplistic aesthetics of the game, is just more inviting to the casual, young, or old-school gamer. And not to say that the 2D or old-school 3D games are easy, it's actually my opinion that the 2D Zeldas are among the most difficult in the whole series. But the general approach and how you play eases you into the game, before you're eventually ambushed by 7 Wizrobe and get your ass handed to you. Which brings me to my next point. Though traditional Zelda does start off more approachable, I would argue it has some of the most intricate, difficult dungeons and enemies in the series, especially the 2D Zeldas. Honestly, I feel like in games like Link's Awakening and the Oracles, after the first few dungeons, the design and puzzles get just as complex, if not more, than the infamous Water Temple from Ocarina of Time. And I love it. Especially in the 2D titles. I feel like as you progress along your adventure and get stronger and get familiar with certain puzzles, the dungeons start to throw brain busters at you all day. Eagle's Tower in Link's Awakening took me forever to finish in my first playthrough. Situated atop a mountain peak, this formidable structure embraces the concept of verticality, demanding that Link traverse multiple floors and navigate its unique architectural design. The core mechanic at the heart of Eagle's Tower is the intentional destruction of its pillars, a clever strategy that involves strategically collapsing sections of the tower. This deliberate act unveils new areas and hidden pathways, but it also necessitates careful consideration of the consequences. Each pillar's collapse can reshape the dungeon's layout, presenting both new challenges and unexpected opportunities. And the 3D Zelda games also have their remarkable dungeon designs that come to life in their immersive three-dimensional environments. The visual aesthetics of these 3D dungeons are brought to the forefront, allowing for breathtaking and immersive exploration. Whether it's the eerie atmosphere of the Shadow Temple, the majestic grandeur of the Ancient Cistern, or the foreboding stronghold of the Arbiter's grounds, each dungeon presents a unique and visually stunning setting. The utilization of 3D space enhances the overall immersion, making it feel like you're truly venturing into these fantastical realms. The combination of intricate dungeon design, captivating visual aesthetics, and the spatial awareness brought by the 3D gameplay mechanics make the dungeons offer extra components to puzzle solving and provide a unique sense of adventure that complements the enduring legacy of the Zelda franchise. And Tears of the Kingdom attempted to recapture the magic of the classic dungeons, and they're good, better than the Divine Beast, but nothing like Zelda's classic dungeons. Like the Oracle games, especially Ages, holy shit. Those dungeons kicked my ass. With complex puzzles and mind-bending time mechanics, they push the boundaries of difficulty in a Zelda dungeon. I can confidently say that no other Zelda dungeon reached the same level of intricate and demanding dungeon design as the Oracle games, in my experience. It was a true test of my patience and determination to overcome the many labyrinths that those games had to offer. But that's one of the awesome things about the 2D and the classic 3D titles, is that it eases you into the difficulty, and the difficulty doesn't come from several abilities, tons of buttons, and a guideless overworld of open world splendor. The challenge in these games stems primarily from the intricacy of the puzzles and the relentless onslaught of enemies, while you have to dodge fireballs at the same time, which is a more approachable learning curve to overcome. And while we're at it, the linearity and structured narrative of the classic 2D titles provide an ideal framework for a multitude of dungeons to explore. Not only that, but the constrained file sizes of these games further contribute to the abundance of dungeons packed within, often leaving myself pleasantly surprised by the seemingly endless array of challenges. It's an enjoyable and immersive journey of discovery, where you venture deeper into one dungeon, or area, or narrative milestone, only to emerge and find another, or a twist, and then delve even further into its mysteries, weapons, items, and bosses, which is a satisfying staple in classic Zelda. This delightful ingredient serves as a cornerstone within the progressive tapestry of the classic Zelda framework. The progression system, with its meticulously designed dungeons and carefully crafted puzzle-solving items and empowering weapons, is another cornerstone of the series. Each dungeon presents a unique challenge, testing both our wit and courage. Acquiring new items and weapons along the way not only enhances our abilities, but also opens up previously inaccessible areas, rewarding our progress with a sense of accomplishment and discovery. This was one of the things I really missed with the advent of the open world style. Don't get me wrong, I like the new style. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't miss that feeling of opening a chest with a hook shot and zipping around the dungeon like I'm fucking Spider-Man. The permanent weapons and specialty items of traditional Zelda not only gave you something to look forward to in each dungeon, or sometimes on a random quest, but it gradually opened up parts of the world. Revisiting previously inaccessible places often led to discovering additional special items, bottles, or abilities. While the new style of Zelda also incorporates some elements of this progression and reward system, it offers a different approach to player advancement. One of its aspects is the emphasis on exploration and discovery. Instead of relying heavily on obtaining permanent weapons and items, the game encourages players to explore the enormous new landscape of Hyrule to find and collect a wide array of weapons and armor that are plentiful, but, well, temporary. But you can also collect food items to give you special effects and heal yourself, and putting together recipes and finding new concoctions to mix together to get a variety of new effects has its own fun and satisfaction behind it, but it's not the same. The new style Zelda has adapted has more of an open-world RPG feel, progression-wise. comparable with the more modern open-world games. Obviously, it's very different and unique, but its progression is more aligned with those games than traditional Zelda. Becoming stronger in older Zelda games had you learning new magical songs, upgrading items, finding new items to solve previously impossible puzzles, and fight enemies in specific ways. I was hoping Tears of the Kingdom had some sort of middle ground, where weapons could still degrade over time but could be repaired or enhanced through various means. Or some of the weapons were puzzle-solving items and they were permanent, allowing players to form a deeper connection with their favorite tools of adventure. But it's pretty much the same, at least in that regard. And it's a good and fun system, but there's something about that familiar Zelda progression that just gets me every time. Which brings me to the next segment. The Zelda series is full of heart in many different ways, and though a lot of the games share similar structures, they're unique enough to appeal to a wide variety of different kinds of people. And a lot of Zelda fans, for different games, for different reasons, developed an emotional connection to some of the games, depending on their personal experiences. These heartwarming moments have the power to stir the depths of our souls and leave an unforgettable mark on our hearts. For instance, in The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, the bittersweet parting scene between Link and Saria resonates with anyone who ever had to part ways with a close friend. It evokes feelings of friendship, nostalgia, and the pain of leaving someone dear behind. This scene taps into the universal theme of longing and departure, reminding us of the cherished friendships and bonds we have formed in our own lives. In The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, the entire game revolves around themes of loss, grief, and acceptance. The moments when Link comforts the troubled spirits of Termina touches the depths of human emotion. It prompts us to reflect on our own struggles, the pain we've endured, and the strength we've found to move forward in the face of adversity. Twilight Princess also delves into darker and more somber themes, providing moments of profound introspection and catharsis. Midna's gradual transformation from an enigmatic ally to a deeply sympathetic character further tugs at the heartstrings as we witness her personal growth and vulnerabilities, as well as the heart-wrenching encounter with the spirit of a fallen warrior, the hero Shade, who laments his inability to pass on his skills and carries the burden of regret, especially when we consider we went on a journey with this character in Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. We grew up with him, and for everything he did, this was his eventual fate. Which also makes me think that there's value in connection between games that Zelda fans absolutely love. Why do you think the MCU is successful? Their die-hard fans come back over and over again, even when one of the movies isn't the best, because everything's connected, which makes each entry a more immersive experience. Then there are personal connections outside of the games people make out of their own experiences, like myself, which I briefly spoke about in the beginning of the video. These Zelda games not only impart valuable life lessons, but also allow us to relive those cherished moments, but give us an emotional dopamine rush of a better time, or an invigorating surge of nostalgia bliss, transporting us to cherished memories or helping us overcome personal challenges. They create an emotional connection that resonates deeply, evoking a sense of joy, comfort, and profound appreciation for the impact that they've had on our lives. There is undeniable value into tapping into the emotional connection that has been cultivated over the course of 30 years with the classic Zelda games. Nostalgia sells and makes you feel. These beloved titles have left an indelible mark on the hearts of fans, creating a sense of familiarity and fondness that transcends time. By acknowledging and honoring this deep-rooted connection, Nintendo has the opportunity to deliver new and innovative stories that strike a balance between embracing the familiar and introducing fresh experiences. However, it is essential to strike a delicate balance between nostalgia and innovation. While it is important to honor the classic formula, it's equally crucial to introduce new ideas, mechanics, and storytelling techniques, which Nintendo, in my opinion, has done well with every Zelda entry thus far. But for all that Tears of the Kingdom offers, which is a lot, I felt it was lacking in connection. Connection, continuity, intertwined lore, and compelling stories keep fans immersed in the world. It allows us to easier create those emotional attachments to characters, moments, and memories, and form stronger attachments to the entire franchise's overarching narrative. Keeps you interested and excited and apprehensive for the next chapter, or the prequel. Interconnectivity also keeps fans enthusiastic and engaged with the material, with speculation and theories, which in the Zelda community, we love that. Furthermore, connection and continuity often act as a reward for long-term fans through clever callbacks, subtle references, and delightful Easter eggs. These elements serve as nostalgic nods to previous installments, bestowing a deep sense of satisfaction and appreciation upon dedicated followers of the franchise. They create a feeling of involvement within a grand narrative tapestry, making fans feel like active participants in the ongoing development of the story. Now, there are plenty of callbacks and Easter eggs in Tears of the Kingdom. However, they're almost insignificant. I mean, not much more than a glorified but purposeless cameo. I'm gonna get more into the details of this with an appropriate spoiler warning in the last segment of why this is. But my point is, most of the other games really grab you and immerse you into the connections and intertwined lore over thousands and thousands of years. It really makes the fans feel a part of the world. And classic Zelda did a great job of connecting things while keeping certain aspects purposely vague and unresolved, to keep us intrigued and engaged in the legends. Which is why continuing classic Zelda and 2D side stories would be a good way to not only keep this connection alive, but expand the lore and keep adding a variety of legends to the Legend of Zelda's catalog. This variety not only keeps the franchise fresh and relevant, but also allows for new and engaging experiences for both longtime fans and newcomers alike. By blending the familiar with the novel, Nintendo can strike a chord with players, offering them a journey that feels simultaneously comforting and exhilarating. And a lot of classic and 2D Zelda games have presented a diverse range of villains, intersecting lands other than Hyrule, and the occasional break from conventional narrative choices. One of the things that sets these classic and 2D games apart is their willingness to take risks and break free from the established norms of storytelling. Whether it's the mind-bending time loops of Majora's Mask or the introspective journey of self-discovery in Link's Awakening, these games push the boundaries of narrative conventions, inviting players to embrace the unexpected. Now, I know this is more related to 2D Zelda and Zelda side stories, but this will tie into a later segment, so we'll come back to this. But throughout the Zelda series history, it's not hard to see the side stories are a little more willing to take risks and break the save Princess Zelda, beat Ganon, and save all of Hyrule tropes that they usually play on in most of the main console games. Also, limitation breeds creativity. This is a common phrase that suggests that when faced with constraints or limitations, people are often compelled to think more creatively and find innovative solutions. It implies that limitations can act as catalysts for creative problem solving and encourages individuals to explore new possibilities. And Nintendo knows this and operates and produces results well under this notion. So stepping back into the 2D realm, or an old style that has limitations compared to the newest physics and open world mechanics of the new Zelda style, would only ignite their already over creative minds. And I'm sure we would end up with something great. The fusion of connection, variety, and nostalgia becomes an important notion in the progressive nature of future classic-style Zelda games. It intertwines the delightful exploration of diverse lands, the cunning adversaries faced, and the myriad of weapons and tools acquired along the journey. This concoction creates an enchanting tapestry of experiences that ignites a sense of wonder and familiarity, giving rise to a satisfying gameplay loop that has become a beloved characteristic of the franchise. It's kind of rare that we get a different setting or a strange break from the conventional Zelda in main console games, and these side Zelda games keep variety alive in Zelda. Not only does it interject freshness into the main trope, but it also enriches the lore and ensures a diverse array of adventures for Link. The commitment to maintaining variety allows us to continually experience new and exciting facets of the Zelda universe that I sincerely don't want to stop experiencing. New lands, new lore, makes for new villains, so we don't exhaust the great Ganondorf. And it's nice to take on fresh villains once in a while, like General Onyx and Varin or Vaati or Majora, which are typically villains in side story Zelda games, but that's perfect because that brings me to my next point. So, after Breath of the Wild's development was extended over and over, and we finally got the game in 2017, and then the sequel was announced, and it's been a long 6 years, with several delays, which is honestly typical for Zelda games, and I'm not complaining. Like Miyamoto says, a delayed game is eventually good, but a rushed game is forever bad. And I'd rather wait for a quality Zelda game any day. But considering the intricacy of the game design, the need to fine-tune the advanced physics system, and the immense scale showcased in the last 2 console installments, it's no surprise that the gap between releases is expanding. It appears that these highly complex games will require additional time for thorough refinement and polishing, if they want to be comparable to its predecessor. Now, Nintendo usually releases other side story Zelda games in between each big release. Lately, it's just been remakes or Dynasty Warrior games with a Zelda skin and an unclear but implied connection to the series, which I enjoyed, as well as I appreciate Skyward Sword HD and totally love Link's Awakening's Switch remake. But why not, in between titles, have a smaller team make a brand new 2D adventure, or a smaller scale 3D adventure in the style of Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask 3D? I know these big projects take a lot of developers, and maybe the Zelda team really doesn't have the people to spare, so why not hand it off to another developer? With a guiding hand, Nintendo has had pretty decent success in the past with this approach, resulting in the Oracles, Minish Cap, and Four Swords. And they had Grezzo handle the 3D remakes of Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, which weren't perfect, but they're great. I'm talking about Majora's Mask. Furthermore, the probable shift towards open-world, large-scale Zelda games in the future, releasing smaller entries with a more familiar and traditional Zelda style could be a strategic move. These games would not only appeal to longtime fans who crave the classic Zelda experience, but also attract new players who may be intimidated by the scope and scale of larger titles. By diversifying their offerings, Nintendo can cater to a broader audience and ensure that Zelda remains accessible and enjoyable for everyone. From a development perspective, these smaller entries would likely be more cost-effective to produce compared to the ambitious open-world games. This would allow Nintendo to maintain a steady release schedule, providing consistent content for fans and maximizing the franchise's potential. And let's face it, Zelda fans are passionate and loyal, and we would all still buy these games for $60, probably, and Nintendo would sell them for $60, definitely. By the way, if you made it this far, you've probably been enjoying the video. So if you are, why not like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any other videos like this? It would help out the channel a lot. Thanks. Anyway, and one thing I wanted to mention about the story of Tears of the Kingdom, if you haven't played the game and want to experience the story for yourself, this is your spoiler warning. Leave now or prematurely receive story elements from Tears of the Kingdom. Okay. About the story of Tears of the Kingdom. At first, I was so hyped, especially during the beginning when it seemed to tease very specifically past events from older Zelda games, the imprisoning war from A Link to the Past's backstory to be precise, as well as Ganondorf recognizing Link and Zelda as he reawakens. This got me so excited. I was at the gym on the treadmill when I heard this before I actually played it, and I booked it home and made a video about it thinking, it would hype up others just as much as me. And when it came out, and as I slowly experienced the story and the cutscenes, I realized the connection is just a fun Easter egg, but essentially meaningless, or extremely meaningful, but not in the way I would like. In fact, the very specificity of the detail in the story make it clear to me that there is no connection. They are completely rewriting Zelda history as if the past games don't matter. 30 years of lore and world building down the drain. Now, I know there are usually contradictions here or there, but they always seem to be very vague, to leave room for speculation and theories and piecing things together. But this story has intricate details, many of them, which completely contradict things in past titles, to a degree that's impossible to overlook. Rauru was the first king of Hyrule? That doesn't make any sense. I thought Link and Zelda from Skyward Sword founded Hyrule. So, the imprisoning war happened right after the creation of Hyrule? And Sonia is Zelda's ancestor? What happened to all the princesses of Hyrule being named Zelda? Also, Ganondorf existed during the founding of Hyrule? That was way before Ocarina of Time. And the imprisoning war is after Ocarina of Time in the downfall timeline. Are there 2 imprisoning wars? And Ganondorf in the past said he looked forward to meeting Link, so this is totally a different Ganondorf. And where is the fucking Triforce? What the fuck is going on? Okay. I know Nintendo seemed like they wanted to steer away from the timeline because it limits them, which makes sense. But like they usually keep big contradicting details vague, so us fans can piece it together in many different ways. But doing this tells me they don't want to have anything to do with connecting the past games together. This history completely contradicts the compiled histories of several of the games. Skyward Sword, Ocarina of Time, A Link to the Past, and everything that splits from Ocarina, which totally got me down. Being a Zelda and its mysteries is special to me, and diving into its mysteries and piecing its history together was a very important ongoing experience to me for many reasons. And to me, it's clear they want a clean break from that. And any references they make are just fun Easter eggs, which totally breaks the immersion for me. And the fact that there are tons of contradictions just between the lore of its predecessor really hits the nail on the head. And there are also recent interviews where Aonuma even said that this new formula, for now, is here to stay. Now, don't get me wrong, I know we can theory this together somehow if we tried. And am I going to? Shit, yeah. And in the coming days, I'm sure there will be debates and theory videos galore, but the fact is it seems Nintendo wants a clean cut from all of that. It does leave me with the impression that they may not be inclined to revisit the previous Zelda format, or that style. However, based on personal reasons and the arguments I presented in this discussion, I strongly believe that creating side stories in a classic Zelda format and possibly incorporating them into the old timeline would be a fantastic idea for both Nintendo and the devoted fans who have grown up with Hyrule and its rich history. So, by embracing the classic Zelda formula and continuing to produce 2D style adventures alongside their larger releases, Nintendo would not only tap into the nostalgia and emotional connection fans have with the franchise, but also cater to their desire for a familiar, traditional Zelda experience. These side stories, set within the established timeline, would provide an opportunity to delve deeper into the lore and expand the world of Hyrule, and offer fresh perspectives on beloved characters and setting. The creation of these classic and 2D style Zelda games would serve as a testament to Nintendo's commitment to honoring the legacy of the franchise. It would show that they value the experiences and memories fans forged over the years, acknowledging the significant impact Zelda has had on their lives. By providing a mix of innovative open-world adventures and charming nostalgia-induced side stories, Nintendo could continue a well-rounded Zelda universe that appeals to a wide range of players, both new and old. And let the light that helped guide me through the darkness stay alive and shine bright. If you made it this far, consider subscribing and slashing the like button, and let me know in the comments if you think this is the end of traditional Zelda and possibly any connections to the timeline. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys soon in the next video.